As the title suggests, it's too goddamn hot, and we can't cool down.
It's 90 degrees Fahrenheit in the south.
It's
And
90
this,
degrees.
what is that in Celsius?
Oh god, I don't even know. I only think in Fahrenheit these days because I've lived in America so long.
I'm a scientist, I got no damn excuse, but let's see.
If you can I wonder if they can occasionally hit
31.
31. That doesn't sound that much.
But that's 90 degrees.
Well, the human body temperature is only a few degrees above that.
Yeah.
Like fever's a few degrees above that. I wonder if they're going to be able to hear like
The fan
going onto the mic. Too bad if you can, because
Well, whoever just showed up, we hope the fan isn't too distracting.
let us know if you can hear.
Also, you're gonna hear.
You're going to hear a lot of spritzing. We've literally got a plant spritzer.
Thank you, Stephen Allen. I'm an environmental scientist. Trying to convince people of this is part of my job, and it pisses
Extremes
me
of heat are yes, and also extremes of cold.
Yep.
Because every time there's a sudden cold spell, and there's loads of snow all over the country, people go, "Oh well, so much for climate change." And it's like, no.
Fun fact: when the term changed from global warming to climate change, it wasn't because our understanding of the science has changed. It was because scientists realized that people were stupid. So they said...
So it's a rebrand.
Yep, because global warming isn't wrong. The overall temperature of the climate is warming, but that means in some places it's going to get colder, and some places it's going to get hotter. Anyways, we're not talking work here, but the science didn't change. We just gained a new appreciation for human stupidity.
Well, plus there is also the question of people have the wrong idea. Maybe this is something we'll talk about in future, but people have a sense that because they don't like how politicians flip-flop, as they did today.
Yes.
Because people don't like politicians flip-flopping, they imagine that scientists changing their mind is the same thing, and it indicates indecision or not knowing what they're talking about, which it does not.
No.
What it indicates is there's new information coming in all the time, and we have to change our minds based on what that is.
Yep. But this was just a case of acknowledging human stupidity. Thank you, John.
We're just getting, yeah.
I appreciate both of you very much. We hope that the fan noises and our mister isn't too distracting.
We literally are just misting ourselves with like a plant spray. Yeah, actually do it on my legs. That's actually good.
There we go.
Thank you. That's
So,
perfect.
Apologies if it's messy with the sound, but
We
there's
are
no
literally
alternative.
we are the most comical pair. We don't have any air conditioning in our house, so
Because
we've
it's
got.
fucking England.
Yes, of course. Because why would you need? Just open a window. It's fine.
Don't say it.
So we've got a fan on us at all times. Both of us are not wearing very much, and we've got all I'm wearing is my headphones to do the stream, and we're spritzing ourselves with a plant spritzer. So
Yeah, John.
that's what we've been reduced to. That's where we are.
Yep.
This is where we are, as
Yeah,
people say.
John, it's 90 Fahrenheit down in the south, and it sucks. Stephen, are you somewhere that is also warm, or are you
I'm
mercifully
imagining.
in the north?
He's got to be, because he was. Why would you have air conditioning? You're in the UK.
Scientists have to do PR stunts, so it sounds rather amazing. It's not called quantum physics; it's string theory.
Oh boy.
When I was talking to Liz. Liz is my doctorate supervisor. She's like, "Yeah, my daughter came to me the other day and asked if she could have a fan in her room." And I'm like, "You don't need a fan. You're British." Like, what is this country? So, this is mostly going to be us whining about how hot it is.
Wow, we're too hot.
I hope you guys are in for that.
That's what's going on.
I hope you're both doing well.
Actually, there is food coming, so I should probably keep. There's my shirt there. I should probably.
I'm not.
All right, my jeans are there. It's fine.
Okay. I'm not putting on more.
Oh, so you're both in Glasgow? That's kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, that's true. You do have more of the humidity. Oh no, not Florida. Florida humidity is only acceptable because everywhere is air conditioned. Your choices are either air conditioned house to air conditioned car to air conditioned store, or air conditioned house directly into freezing cold food.
Right. That's the thing. I I think both John and Stephen are from the same kind of area. They must both be in Glasgow.
Well,
prepare the train.
It's gonna start cooling down here in a couple of hours, but in the meantime, I'm very jealous of both of you.
Slightly posh bit.
Yeah, it's on a boat. Yeah, I'm just sitting here sipping a makeshift pina colada, hoping that it will cool me down. Or maybe we'll just cool my brain into thinking I'm somewhere tropical, and thus the heat is more acceptable. Thank you.
You live in the East End. John lives in the northwest bit. Oh, I know the northwest of Glasgow better because I'm a little posh boy, and I've been to like Kelvin Grove and the art museum.
It's because your grandparents were from.
No, they had a little apartment they would rent out there. That was quite nice.
Stephen,
In Belgrave Terrace on the Great Western Road.
Oh, lovely.
It was lovely.
Sounds lovely.
Right near the botanical gardens.
I'll accept the heat when I'm on like a really nice beach with a freezing cold drink in my hand. And I know that once I'm done at the end of the day, I can go to the air conditioning.
Sorry, I'm crying. Just the controllers actually.
By the way, I don't think we've thought about this much. If the sound game is ever way too loud, let us know. We don't actually think so.
It's okay, I think. The balance is alright. Yeah, look at this. I'm not doing that.
Being salty Cedar. He had to move the boat by 6 feet.
God damn it. Moving boats. That's not acceptable.
Moving your home.
Moving your house, yeah.
We have been seeing a lot because we're right on the River Kennet here in Reading, and there's a lot of river boats going. They're canal boats, I should say, going up and down. And so the past couple of days we've been seeing a lot of people moored up on the side, laying on their little porches or on top of their canal boats, mostly naked. Yes, around to make you go, right, I'm set up, I have a drink and a nice breeze. Yep, exactly. That is not this. This is oppressive. And I don't. The only comfort I take is that it's still getting cool in the night. I can't handle hot at night. I just cannot handle it.
What have I not done? I've ruined the train.
Maybe the train just says it's too goddamn hot.
Okay, reverses forward. Train brake. Train brake running. Parking brake released.
Yeah, humidity is... Dry heat is definitely better than humid heat. No doubt about that. But heat with air conditioning is better than all of them.
Okay, train's dead, I think.
You killed the train.
I don't know what I did, but something's wrong with the train.
You need to restart the simulation.
I might. This is quite irritating.
Well, take two.
Yeah, I agree. Humidity is worse. Because at least if it's hot, you can find some shade and a breeze, and you'll basically be okay.
Remember how insanely humid it got in China some months?
You could literally swipe the air and your hand would be wet.
Yep.
That's how humid it was. It was nearly 100% humidity the first couple of weeks we were there. Insane.
New York, it gets humid in the peak of the summer, but usually not horrible. There are exceptions. There are definitely exceptions, but for the most part, it's just really dry, really hot.
Well, you have that problem. You have that problem in most cities where if it gets sufficiently hot, basically all the sunlight is reflected by the pavement.
Mm-hmm.
So
there are experiments being done right now into what happens if you paint city streets white.
Oh.
Because cities, on average, are about, I believe it's 5 degrees warmer than the surrounding area. 5 to 10 degrees warmer. Because of how much heat all the asphalt is absorbing. They actually create their own little micro ecosystems in climate, which is why a lot of animals tend to head into the cities in winter because they're a bit more. By animals, I mean, rats and raccoons and things. Maybe some foxes. But
China's awful for humidity. I was in Hong Kong for a while, and man, it's that kind of humidity. We lived not far from there actually. We were across the border from Hong Kong in a city called Shenzhen. That, yeah, I mean it's a sweaty, super sweaty swamp kind of place basically. Hong Kong's fucking great though. I loved Hong Kong.
I'm
Hong Kong's
interested
awesome.
to see where these studies go, though, with the painting city pavement white. I mean, the biggest problem I can see there is with glare when you drive.
That's right. Yeah.
So I don't know if it could ever be done with with regularly used roads like highways. But if it's just neighborhood streets that are not
Right.
high traffic, high speed, there could be some applications for that.
They've got their sort of urban greening, they call it sometimes,
Yeah.
where you'll see this happens a lot in Hong Kong actually, like that crazy mall on the waterfront, where Shenzhen, the one with the giant shopping centre that's got cheap knockoff clubber.
That's the one.
Actually, which shopping centre? There's like 12.
Yeah, there was 12, at least 12 massive shopping centers.
Oh, it's
but
amazing.
Yes, Shenzhen is where we were living.
It's definitely a cool place to be for a while. I really loved Hong Kong, especially.
And
Shenzhen had some pretty fantastic food.
Oh, really?
They were really great.
Good.
Like SeaWorld and places, were actually really good.
Obviously, the Chinese food was amazing, but also probably some of the best nachos I've ever had.
It's like even 10 years ago, you couldn't expect Chinese pizza joint to be that good.
Yeah.
But now, it's amazing.
They put cubed pork belly on pork fat on the nachos.
Yeah, what was that? Was it a Turkish place we went?
Ooh,
Do you remember
the
that?
Turkish place was good.
That was unbelievably nice.
Except for the fact when they were like basting the meat in butter at the table, and I just with reckless abandonment, I just got covered in Spanish
Oh
butter.
no!
Like, well, glad I didn't like this shirt anyway. But the food was fantastic.
Train. There we go. We're actually moving. I don't know what was wrong with the train.
On the plus side, I'm sure all of my plants are happy.
Yeah, especially all sort of more.
They're all tropical in origin.
Yeah.
I have like 20, 21 houseplants, viola plants, and most houseplants, even in the UK, are tropical in origin. So all of mine are quite pleased today. When I was in China, I went to a very Ramsden fish and chip shop. Not even surprised. Oh, you were in Shenzhen, okay. See, what were you there? Because that city changed so fast. I didn't live there.
Fascinating place, though.
I mean, I've always had mixed feelings though, because on one hand, I think it's very friendly for foreigners living in China.
Oh yeah.
As far as the city that is easy to live in as a foreigner, nowhere in China is...
Train sounds loud. Alright, in which case...
What did you do?
Train sound is loud. How is it now? If I'm inside the cab, it may be better. John says the train sound's rather loud.
Do you want to go into the actual settings for our stream and turn down the game volume?
Well, I wonder if I can do it from here.
Possibly.
Here we go. Audio. That should do it. Aha! Master volume.
Oh, look at us learning things.
So if I do it to like 30%. Oh, I have to
All right,
apply.
I'll apply, and you
All right.
go put on clothes and get the door. We'll be back to the commons in just a moment. Technical issues. Ugh.
Can you toss me the shirt behind you?
Oh yeah. Yes, we're coming. Oh crap! Our window's open. He could. I just said that, and I then realized that our window is open. He could probably hear me. Oops. Let's see. I just realized I shouted. Yes, we're coming. Our window's right there. I'm sure you heard me. Okay. Options, apply. Alright, let us know if that's better. Hopefully that's better. Let's see, let me get back to the comments. I saw the owner of one of the shops getting arrested by the military, and then 5 minutes later walking back to his shop in the military guy pocket. I'm not even surprised. Much better. Okay, good. Oh, so freaking hot. I have my secret weapon, which is a hot water bottle that I stick in the freezer for a full day, and then it's a giant ice cube that I just hug. Why?
He was clearly exhausted.
Oh.
Bringing all this stuff to us.
I'm sorry, I said mean things.
Oh.
What?
We've gotten refunded because I ordered 2 of these.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's okay.
Yay, Pringles! So we can crunch on Pringles on the stream. Sorry, guys.
Brilliant idea.
True. We're a shambles, but you know what? I don't actually care today.
It's too damn hot not to be at this point.
Yep.
So maybe we'll do this for another 10, 20 minutes. And then
Yeah, let's do another 20. This is fun.
you can have
I mean, I'm sitting next to a controller that's driving a train. They said that the sound is much better now.
Good. Okay. Okay.
I'm sorry that you had to move.
Gosh, it is unpleasant. It is unpleasant, guys.
Oh.
This is what we're doing. We're all commiserating on YouTube because we've complained for most of the year that it's been too cold and it's been awful, and that it's been raining and really rubbish.
Yeah.
And now it's hot,
Mhm.
and the country can't handle it, and it's falling apart.
Yep. I mean, I'm just here to gripe and moan, to be honest.
I mean, I suppose at least it did it on a weekend, so that when we're like,
Oh, thank God. I'm Ubering to campus tomorrow. I'm not doing 40 minutes long. Even if it's a little bit quicker. It'd be fine if I was coming back, because then I could get back, I could shower up, I could make the clothes, but by the time I got to campus, it'd be like a sweat, and I'm sitting at my desk for 3 hours. Not a fan. My missus does the same thing, only she puts our bedclothes into the airing cover, which is part of the house. Because I refuse to have my bedclothes in the freezer.
that's actually not the worst idea.
I've done
Bedclothes in the freezer?
Yeah, if you put them in a Ziploc bag, throw them in the freezer.
How long does that last?
Yeah, not too long, but it's enough to take the edge off of it.
I suppose.
I know people who put their sheets in. I just have like giant block frozen
Mm-hmm. Ugh.
Yeah, but I remember you mentioning that.
We were thinking we might stick on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which we have not watched.
I still need to finish one,
I'll watch the rest of it at some stage. I think it's a. I think of the Marvel stuff, the stuff that I've most enjoyed has tended to be Winter Soldier, Civil War, I think those have been the kind of most compelling part, the kind of super spy thing.
Winter Soldier was I think Winter Soldier was probably the most epic next to
Mm-hmm.
the Avengers. I can't really rank the last two films, Endgame and
Infinity War and Endgame.
I can't really rank those. The two go together. And they were amazingly done. They were amazing large chapters. I wouldn't sit down and watch them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they.
No, they're almost too big. They're just too big as events.
They were amazing. I was very satisfied with them in theater. But I'm just gonna sit down and watch a movie. For me, it's like how I'll never just sit down and watch The Lord of the Rings. Although I like the Many Words.
I mean, honestly, so I think I've had my fill of Lord of the Rings at this point.
But it's the same concept, you know. I'm not. They're just too massive and too large.
Okay. Oh, quite, yeah. Stephen, what?
The 70s spy thriller
Pastiche.
pastiche stuff is pretty great. I swear I'm actually an educated human being.
And you've studied French too.
I'm not one. Actually, I am one with the word. I'm just one with the science.
Fair enough. Stephen, what's a favourite 70s spy thriller? I mean, I'm thinking like Day of the Jackal or something like that. But yeah, what's like a favourite? I guess might French Connection count? I guess.
Not
Yeah. We did, and which was itself kind of a noir pastiche.
Yeah,
We watched Page 8 with the great Bill Nye. Not the science guy, the Bill Nye. Not the science guy. He's a spy who has a difficult relationship with his daughter, and he likes James. I have this terrible impression. I don't have a good impression of him. Duncan's developed one. Duncan's got a good impression. Oh. 3 Days of the Condor, yes. Stephen says mine's probably 3 Days of the Condor, mainly because I think it kind of blew the lid on the whole oil conspiracies of the 70s and 80s. Yeah, that one's amazing. Actually, if we want to watch a really good spy thriller movie, that's a fantastic one. Robert Redford. It's got a really violent opening. The opening is like, oh, not like gory violent. It's just things happen. Things just happen, and you know, suddenly Robert Redford is on the run for the rest of the movie. And there's a whole conspiracy. They're very influential. They're basically what the Bourne Supremacy, that kind of whole world is responding to. Very ordinary man caught up in extraordinary events. Who, you know, I think literally he goes out for a cigarette or something, and then he comes back and his whole life has changed. Type thing. That's what Ah, All the President's Men. Yeah, that's excellent. That's a really good one. Because of course that's based on true events. But it really does give you the sense of what were the two. Bernstein was one of them. I forget the name of the other one. The two journalists who figured out what was going on with the Watergate crisis. They're the ones who broke the story of the Watergate crisis. Woodward and Bernstein. There you go. And it took them a long time to do it as well. Even by the end of the film, it's still. Yeah, there you go.
even by the end of the film, they haven't quite been vindicated. And it's, you know, because the resignation of Nixon is some time after the end of where the film ends.
Okay.
Speaking of spies, my father was a fan of Adam Dimmett novels. I think Austin Powers, but play completely straight. Oh my god. That sounds like that sounds really good for kind of unintentional comedy. Well, we watched Network recently. Another fantastic 70s, one of the best 70s films out there. I watched Network as a teenager, and I didn't get a lot of the references in it. I didn't understand the difference between the kind of 50s, 60s TV generation and the older people. That was stuff that flew right over my head. But the kind of Howard Beale as a kind of bizarre televangelist character, that I was like, okay, that's brilliant, because there are still people like that now, and this was made in the 70s. I'm mad as hell. And the whole exploitation, the cynical exploitation of something that, you know, it's like they catch some popularity and they use it. Well, exactly. It predicts Glenn Beck. Some people said it predicted Jerry Springer. It predicted all of these, you know, all of these phenomenons in media. That bit where he says to Faye Dunaway, he's like, "You're pure television. You are just, you know, you don't know what you want, but you want it." Essentially, is what he says to her. Just, it's the most brutal character assassination I've ever seen in a film. I don't think so. Not really. What about you? I think I could throw together a sandwich at some point, but
Norwegian summer style sandwiches.
yeah, when it's this hot. Ugh. Don't know if it counts, but is Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country a spy film? I count it. I say it has basically the spy plot framed. It's a framing plot essentially, because Bones and Kirk get framed for something they didn't do. And then the Enterprise crew are on the trail of this mystery, which is great. I thought that was, when I was a kid, that was my favourite one, because I love the kind of mystery element. Like, it's like a whodunit, but it's set in space, and there's a big battle at the end. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, yeah, that's a really, really good series. I watched, there was the John Hurt version that was made at some stage. It's entirely about a conspiracy between Klingon Emperor and the Federation going, we only want to reach peace. Only some people... Yeah. Right. But it's this lovely kind of parallel with sort of American civil rights as well, because Kirk and Spock essentially admit to each other, oh, we may be a bit too old for this. We are going to have the hardest time living in the world that is coming, where we have to make peace with our sworn enemies. And it's such a lovely parallel to not only racism, but also the Cold War ending, the fall of the Soviet Union. Because literally, that movie came out in 1991. And the very same year is when... I wonder how the hell that happened. They must have been developing it, but there must be, because I think it had quite a rushed production time, because it was made to come out with the 25th anniversary of the original series or something like that. I kind of love Stephen says, I kind of love that Kirk, who is a racist against Klingons with justifiable reasons, is the one who has to put his... Exactly, the way he's like, me? Really? You want to send me on this mission? Jim, they're dying. Let them die. It's fantastic. It's really great character stuff, and it kind of puts them in this, you know... What a fantastic way to round out the era of the original series, of saying, look, they've gone as far as they can go as people. It's not just that they're getting old and the Enterprise has to be returned, but it has to be decommissioned. It's not just that. It's also that
you know, there's going to have to be a new crew and a new generation who will have to live in a world where Klingons are going to be walking around on the bridge just like another crew member. Yeah, it's really nicely done. It's beautiful. Yeah, I kind of have a real soft spot for gritty spy thriller type things. I really love the Harry Palmer films, for example, because they were made in a really classy way. Like Icarus File, Funeral in Berlin. Funeral in Berlin, I think, is less exciting, but it is also about kind of running around different parts of Berlin, secret meetings, following each other in taxis. Like it's a good kind of evening watch, I think. And then obviously my favourite is $1 Billion Brain, which we watched, which is full of really crazy music references. It's chock full of music and mythology references, which is cool. Steven says, I mean, we were used to it by that point because of Worf, but none of us knew how the hell the peace came between the Klingons and the Federation. Yeah, and that's the one thing that hasn't sort of been over-explained. Yeah. I mean, I say that a lot. What I mean is that at that point it hadn't been over-explained. We just assumed that, well, it's 100 years later, so things are different, and we've got a Klingon on the ship now. And there's actually like, there was actually an interesting little story here. And it coincided with the final Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. $1 Billion Brain is so freaking... I'm so glad you've seen it, Steven. It's so freaking nuts. I'm a bigger fan of the Icarus File, mainly because Harry is a bastard. I could have gone stark raving mad. As it says at the end. It's got a John Barry score too, so it is almost a Bond film. But they clearly wanted to make it a competitor to Bond, because they even gave it the same kind of... But the thing I find really fun about the Icarus File is that it's all these shots of kind of really grim 60s London. There's like broken down warehouses and shit all over the place, and you know they're wandering around different parts of London. And London's deserted, like there's nobody there compared to what London's like now.
Yeah.
There's like 12 people in London in that film. The thing I like about Harry is that he's entirely down to, am I getting paid enough? There's no glamour in it. Exactly, like the main plot point at the end of $1 Billion Brain is like he wants to ask Colonel Ross for, or not Colonel Ross, he wants to ask his boss for £200, which I know in 60s money that's closer to like a couple of thousand, but still that's not much. He just saved the world.
Yeah.
And he's not like Bond where he goes, oh fuck off, I'm going to go have sex in the Bahamas for like 3 weeks. I'm not even going to report it, I'm just going to disappear with this lady and just back for ages. But with Harry it's like, can I just make rent, please? Who is this? And how do you know my name? Agent Palmer. Well, that's the thing that was cool about the Len Deighton novels, is that it was the unglamorous version of Harry Palmer, and it kind of feeds into the sort of post-noir thing of like the detective who's down on his luck and he has to do the job because it's all he's got. But it's things you see in this world. It's dark. It's things people do to each other. Man. I've seen the things people do to each other in the streets, and there ain't no music down there. Also, I like the first moment we see Harry. His life is so boring. It's all, yeah. No, it's great. Ooh. I was trying to go over there to get my drink. I nearly... No, I suppose I can't bring more. Oh, I'm so glad you guys have seen the Harry Palmer films. They're sort of a favourite. I used to watch them with my dad. They would be on British TV around Christmas, and we'd put them on. He just makes coffee. And that's the thing, is even, you know, to his boss, like they hint at this in Bond, but Harry Palmer really is disposable. They don't care about Harry Palmer at all. iPlayer has the monorail crashes. Yeah. Let me see, what other kind of good spy or thriller type films are there of that kind? I'm trying to think. Particularly 60s, 70s, like the ones that are really swish and stylish. There's a great one with Gene Hackman called The Conversation, and it's about a surveillance. It's about, basically they're watching these two people and they get the wrong end of the stick. They misinterpret the conversation between the two people, and it sets off this whole crazy plot. Huh. Can you read the latest comment from John? There's a great series called Callan. Okay, I haven't seen it. I don't know. Where'd you put it? That's fine. Yeah. Interesting. I've always meant to watch The Prisoner. Is that worth a watch? Oh yes, read that one.
When I was in university, when I was in university, I thought about applying for MI6, but it looks like it's favorite people with history degrees or something. Sadly, neither my parents were required. Interesting. Does it have to be both parents or just one?
I think it's both. Well, they don't want an Alec Trevelyan situation. You know about that's what Alec Trevelyan is in GoldenEye. He's a Lance Cossack. The Prisoner is 60s camp classic, well worth your time. Yeah, I mean, the Prisoner is something that people have a mild obsession with. It's like a ridiculously... Oh dear. I might be about to misread it. Oh no, I spattered it. Alright, I'm gonna have to try it with a different train. I really suck at this.
You don't when you're actually paying attention.
Yeah, I'm talking about 60s movies. The Prisoner is something you could get into, I think. Just let it kind of happen because you don't want to think about it. Yeah, I'm aware basically that it's surreal. It's a big influence on Lost, actually. Apparently they said The Prisoner was a real... There's even... like the black smoke monster is kind of, it behaves similarly. There's a sort of monster on The Prisoner that's called Rover or something like that, and it's basically a big red beach ball that rolls around.
Okay.
But it seems to be a robot or an entity of some sort.
Okay.
It's a really trippy series. John says they need at least one person. My mother was Albanian and my father was Dutch. Interesting. The reason why people, Stephen says, the reason why people have an obsession with it is because it left questions unanswered. Yes, I know it's only one series. There's only like 12, 13 episodes. It's got Patrick McGoohan in it. John says, one specific episode of B5 was heavily based on an episode of The Prisoner. Which one is that, John? I'm very curious. Good, as long as I go in knowing that things aren't going to be answered. And you're really watching it just for the kind of 60s aesthetic.
I'm sure I'll manage.
Which I think at this point I watch a lot of things for style.
Yeah.
You know. Let's see, I'll do a timetable. Steve says, who are they? Why are they after him? What information does the prisoner have? Why don't they just kill him? Oh, the one where Sheridan is being tortured by Earth Force and they're messing with his head. That's the... Yes, that's Intersections in Real Time, isn't it? That's a really amazing episode. In its own right, the B5 one is really good.
I feel like it's actually a little cooler over here in the kitchen than it is on the couch.
Yeah, well, there's loads of heat coming straight in here.
Summer in Norway staples. Bread with butter and strawberries and bread with butter and Gjedost.
Ooh, very yummy. Yeah, for some reason, when the heat gets up, my appetite just evaporates. It's just gone. The Prisoner is a show that will melt your brain. Good. I like things that are a little bit confusing. I read very difficult fiction deliberately, just because I hate myself, apparently. John Smith said, better than mine. My father has lived in English-speaking countries most of his life. Right, yeah. Stephen Allen says, very influential. Damon Lindelof really owes his career to it. I agree, and yeah, it's quite obvious. You almost wonder, like, are these... Do the people that spend their careers ripping things off, do they feel like... Do they ever kind of get sheepish about mentioning where their ideas come from? Because as soon as people see that that's what they were doing, it becomes really, really clear that they just ripped it off from there. There was a Prisoner remake in 2009? Jeez. That's kind of a mad idea. Let's remake a lightning in a bottle show. I mean, it's conceivable somebody will remake Lost someday and it will make sense. They tried to knock down the things that they ripped off. Not worth your time. Yeah, fair enough. This is fun. I kind of like this, just chatting about... We're too hot, so we'll just chat about TV shows.
Yep. Yep. I mean, what else can you do in this heat?
2009 Prisoner isn't worth your time. No, fair enough. Fair enough. I wasn't aware it existed, so I will avoid it.
I will continue avoiding it.
I'll forget that it happened. But if I remember it happened, I will remember that Stephen Allen warned me off it. Like, no, I'm not going to watch that. There was a radio adaptation of this really great Arthur C. Clarke book called Childhood's End, from which Independence Day totally stole the idea of having one day gigantic alien spaceships appear on Earth and hover over all of Earth's cities. And we don't know what they want. And then from there it turns into action slot. But the idea of some really gigantic ships, flying saucers, arrive is totally from Childhood's End. There was a really, really good radio drama version of it done for BBC sometime in the 90s, I think. I remember listening to some of it with my dad and being like, what is this? I really want to listen to this. And then I think they made a series. Somebody made a series. It may have been the Sci-Fi Channel or something. I don't think it was all that good, unfortunately. Stephen Allen says, I always wondered why nobody pointed out that Torchwood is just Queer as Folk meets Captain Scarlet. I don't know if you would get that reference. That's two very British things. Because Torchwood is Captain Scarlet for adults.
Yeah.
Captain Scarlet.
Oh,
I loved Captain Scarlet. That was amazing as well when I was a kid. I used to have the SPV. I had the Angel Fighters. I had quite a few of the figurines.
No puppets.
Captain Scarlet. The Mysterons.
I mean, in some ways, it's just a repackaging of Thunderbirds. You know. But it's also kind of got a mad 60s design where they're on a they're on a helicarrier.
Okay.
They've got the Spectrum is this. They're basically Shield, and they have a helicarrier that's called Skybase or something like that.
I like helicarriers.
But like all of those 60s shows, they have mad model work. Like all of the vehicles are beautifully made models, and they regularly blow stuff up just to show you they can, you know. Like I think that I still remember the shot that's at the end of every episode says filmed in Technicolor, but it's that kind of panoramic view lettering that goes like this. But behind that, they just have a giant oil refinery explode just to show off how good Technicolor is.
Hey, if you can, why wouldn't you?
It's Skybase, and they have Angels, who are the female pilots. That's right, they're kind of Charlie's Angels. I used to confuse them with Charlie's Angels, but one of them is they're called like Destiny. I feel like they've got Greek, maybe they have Greek names, or maybe named after the Furies or something like that. Captain Jack is Captain Scarlet. No, in one episode of Doctor Who, there is even a floating airbase. Is there?
I mean, I trust that there is. I can't bring it directly to mind.
Oh God! I can't believe I didn't think of this. Stephen Allen says he's an immortal who can't be killed. He fights an evil alien species, and they are losing. You're absolutely right. Captain Jack is Captain Scarlet from the kids series that I used to watch.
I don't know the kids series, but I believe you.
The Thunderbirds vehicle, my favourite Thunderbirds vehicle, was not one of the Thunderbirds, although Thunderbird 3 is pretty awesome. My favourite Thunderbirds vehicle is the futuristic jet plane called Fireflash. It's absolutely amazing looking.
Thunderbirds are terrifying.
The one in which the Master became the Prime Minister.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, okay, Annalise has seen it. Okay. Captain Jack is Captain Scarlet with a libido. I want to see a live-action Captain Scarlet with your man.
Oh, no, sorry, not the one where he gets his hand cut off. That's a different one, but yeah.
Captain Jack. Well, what's his name? What's his name? Yeah, what's
John
the actor's? John Barrowman, thank you. John Barrowman would be amazing Captain Scarlet. Although he would read the script and go, wait a minute, I have played this character before.
Mad shagging with aliens. Yep.
Well, funny you should say that, because the first episode of Torchwood is about mad shagging with aliens.
Yep. Oh, I'm sure David knows that.
I just remember, okay, so my brother and I were in a hotel room at a convention.
Excellent.
Right?
Yeah.
Not a you convention,
I know.
my family convention.
The inferior convention. Continue.
But all that was on TV was the new episode of Torchwood, and my brother and I were sitting there watching that going, wait, what?
Excellent.
So you fuck this lady, and...
How old were you?
Oh, we were in our teens. Late teens.
Okay.
So Ed was like 15, I was probably like 18.
That would have been better if you were in your early teens.
Well, my dad was downstairs doing stuff, so we just stayed up in the room and just watched the first episode of Torchwood, and it was about an alien that kills people because she's addicted to human orgasms. I think is the.
I thought you just fed through their.
She
orgasms.
She fed on it, right?
Yeah, I never got into Torchwood.
I think
I love John Barrowman and Captain Jack, but I just couldn't get right into Torchwood.
There's that really grim thing called Children of Earth. I watched a little bit of that, where, what is it, the 456 are aliens that want to kill half of Earth's children. And so there's this whole crisis about, well, should we sacrifice half of Earth's children?
Jesus.
It's really grim. And then Captain Jack uses one of his own kids to kill them, but you essentially see a child die very, very horribly in order to kill the 456 or whatever. Just, yeah, not my favourite. But it has Peter Capaldi in it. Peter Capaldi plays like a politician or something.
Interesting.
Oh boy. try to do the adulting the series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sarah Jane Adventures.
They're very canonical.
I used to watch a bit of Sarah Jane Adventures. They were kind of fun. There we go, I actually remembered to stop.
That's a good thing when you're driving.
Yeah. There you go. Lovely Ealing Broadway.
Mm-hmm. I think my body temperature is finally starting to go down a little bit.
Yeah, well, the day is also coming to an end, thankfully.
Die, day, die.
My favourite Doctor Who spin-off, and this absolutely counts, is Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. Yes, I think it does count because it was written by Douglas Adams. Stupid Max Landis did a version recently, which, remember, we got handed a little card for it at Cannes a couple of years ago. They were trying to promote it then. But yeah, the books I think were better. The Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective. I think there might have been a radio show or something of that.
Okay. They do a lot of radio shows. Or audio shows, however they're broadcast.
K9 and Company was a pilot in the 70s that showcased K9 and never took off.
I met the voice of K9. Very nice man.
Professor Chronotis is a Time Lord. Hell, they don't change his character name, and it's the same character from Sharda. You would know better than me. I don't know who those characters are, but sure, I will take your word for it. Doctor Who is one of those things that the more you go into the lore, the more weird stuff you find out. Like that Timothy Dalton was on Doctor Who.
What?
Yeah, Timothy Dalton played Rassilon. The first time Rassilon showed up. Later on, he was played by somebody else.
Okay.
In the Peter Capaldi version. He's played by the guy from The Queen's Nose, Uncle Thing.
Uncle Thing.
But in the 60s, 70s, no, because it's the Colin Baker era. He shows up. He's kind of Rassilon is the one that wants to kind of put the Doctor on trial.
Okay.
He's kind of the antagonist Time Lord. But that was quite a big deal for Doctor Who to get Timothy Dalton, a then current James Bond. I always thought the Time Lords kind of worked as very stagey actors because they're so kind of naturally flamboyant anyway.
Yeah. It lends itself to Shakespearean actors quite well.
Oh, Sharda was an unfinished Douglas Adams Doctor Who serial. Which area was that? Was that Tom Baker? It must have been Tom Baker. Because, fun fact, it was Douglas Adams who knew Lalla Ward, who was then Romana on Tom Baker era Doctor Who. Douglas Adams was a very close personal friend of Richard Dawkins. Later on, after Tom Baker and Lalla Ward had gotten divorced, she then married Richard Dawkins because they introduced they introduced each other.
God. She must have some stories.
Well, she reads his audiobooks.
Oh.
So actually, the greatest show on Earth and God Delusion is actually partly read by both of them in tandem.
Okay.
So actually, they so anything that's in quotations is read by Lalla Ward, and the rest of the text is read by Richard Dawkins in the abridged version, anyway.
Cool.
In the version I had, it was quite nice. I don't think they had kids. I think Dawkins has kids by a previous marriage. Because he has a daughter, and it's funny. I've met his I've met his nephew, Dawkins' nephew. He's a musician.
Oh yeah.
And he looks frighteningly like Dawkins. I mean, it's like you're just looking at a young Richard. I feel like I'm watching kind of a Richard Dawkins origins story. It's like they've cast somebody that looks really like him. You know. Anyway, in the Tom Baker autobiography, Lalla Ward gets around
a sentence dedicated to her, I think there's a bit of animosity. Yeah, you wonder. I do remember, this is, not to get too into kind of religion contentious territory, I do remember somebody once saying that we shouldn't be paying attention to Richard Dawkins because he had a divorce.
No.
And that was proof that he was that everything he said was rubbish. It's like, well, okay.
Okay.
So divorced people can't ever be moral ever again. Okay, fair enough. Life, the Universe and Everything was based on the Doctor Who film that was going to be Doctor Who and the Cricket Men. Slarty Bartfast. Can you look up that comment? I think he says Slarty Bartfast, which is a very, very funny thing. From
he does indeed say Slarty Bartfast should replace the Doctor.
Oh, okay. So the third Hitchhiker's book was actually based on Doctor Who? What? I always knew there was a close kinship between Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Doctor Who, mostly through Douglas Adams, but that's really interesting. I was not aware that it was fully, adapted scripts and adapted stories and so on. That's really interesting. I mostly know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy through the radio show, which was the original. The books came later. What? Slarty Bartfast's original name was going to be Farty Fuck Balls.
What are we talking about?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is hilarious.
Okay.
Slarty Bartfast is he's the alien continent designer who won an award for designing the Earth.
Hey.
And he got an award. You'll like this because he did all the fiddly bits around the fjords in Norway.
Oh, nice. There's a lot
That's-
of
that's-
bits around those.
Exactly. I got an award for doing all the fiddly bits around Norway. What's your name? You won't like my name. No, seriously, what's your name? It's very embarrassing. Come on, tell us your name. Slarty Bartfast. It's so silly, though. That's the wonderful thing about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's so kind of goofy. He's the alien architect who made Norway. I have to say... Sorry, go on.
You did a good job.
Yeah. I have to say, one of the things that's really fun about the radio series of the Hitchhiker's Guide is that through sound design, they do an amazing job of giving you a sense of scale and wonder. When they first go to this, whatever this place is that designs planets, you see an entire open tract of space where planets are being built as machines, because planets are kind of machines in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy universe. The idea being that the Earth is actually a living computer that is working on a question, and it was destroyed. It turns out the Earth gets destroyed right before it's about to produce the answer to the whole purpose of its existence. And that's a lovely little unanswered mystery, unless it's answered somewhere else and I don't remember. When they were going to rebuild the world, Slarty Bartfast isn't given Norway and instead is given Africa, and so New Earth... Oh yeah, there's a New Earth, there's a second Earth.
Okay.
They build a new Earth. Oh, for heaven's sake, humanity. Yeah, that's fine. I just need to look up the comment. Yeah, so New Earth was going to have fjords in Africa. It's very, very British. It is extremely British. And actually, what's really, really fun about the there's loads of quite well-known British actors that turn up as minor roles in, like, the whole planet that decides to get rid of a useless third of their population by pretending that there's a world-ending crisis. They have a hoax world-ending crisis,
Okay.
and they decide to build 3 to send off their whole population to another planet in 3 parts. But they convince the telephone sanitizers, the hairdressers, and the marketing people to go first, to go on the first colony ship to set up a new planet.
What do you mean hairdressers?
The Golga Frinchams, I think they're called. The Golga Frinchams. It's such a great name. So they send these people off into space.
Okay.
Ironically, that whole civilization ends up getting wiped out by a disease contracted from a dirty telephone. And the only thing left of them are their telephone sanitizers and their marketers and their hairdressers.
Amazing.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant satirical comedy. It's fantastic. The guide starts off as space is big, really big. You just won't believe just how mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's big, but yeah, I remember that bit. We're gonna have to find the original radio show of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and we're gonna have to listen to it.
Okay. That'll be
It's
fun.
absolutely hilarious. It's very random. There's lots of, it doesn't really have a consistent sort of plot narrative. It sort of does.
Sounds fun.
But there's lots of kind of random little gags in it that are just very enjoyable. I never watched the TV series. I was aware of it, but I never watched it.
I was mostly aware of the book.
It's sort of not had its day in a while. I think there may have been plans. I mean, because there was a movie made with what's his name, Martin Freeman, who was in bloody everything for a while, which
Yeah.
wasn't really very good.
Okay.
Even though it did have Sam Rockwell as Zaphod Beeblebrox, that was great. Sorry, what?
Stephen just said, think of it as Lewis Carroll with sci-fi, for sci-fi fans. That sounds right up my alley.
Actually, yeah, that's a
I
really
love
great way of
Lewis Carroll.
that's really great way of describing it. As a matter of fact, I like that.
Okay, well, I love Alice in Wonderland, so.
That's right. Arthur Dent just finds himself catapulted into this bizarre world. I'd forgotten about that. Though I like that the worst swear word in the whole universe is Belgium.
I love that.
You see what I mean?
Alright, yeah.
It's really funny. I'd forgotten about that.
Do you want to turn on the light next to you?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, actually.
The sun is
It's getting a little dark.
good.
Oh, need to figure out what's going on with that Lego down there. It's entirely about how do we keep random logic, but still keep it logical. Yeah. Oh. Now I'm thinking all my favourite moments. Like David Jason turns up as one of the Golga Frinchams. Jonathan Pryce is in it as well. So, your man Elliot Carver from Tomorrow Never Dies,
Okay.
he's in it.
Okay.
His voice is in it. Oop, 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 oop. It's funny, my dad used to have a work colleague that people called Zaphod. Because Zaphod Beeblebrox is very, very egotistical. Kind of... He's somewhere between Space Elvis and... I don't know. Just imagine like a superstar. Completely...
Got it. Okay.
But my favorite part is his psychiatrist is often consulted about on the kind of space news. They consult his psychiatrist, and they're like, "So, what's going on with Zaphod Beeblebrox? What makes him tick?" And his psychiatrist just goes, "Well, he's just this guy, That's all they say about him. Right. So these characters should probably die. These characters should die. It's practically impossible for them to survive, but that means there's a finite probability for a. Zaphod is just this guy, you know. Yeah. All right. The whale falling from the sky. Oh. The infinite probability drive. The infinite improbability drive. So these characters should die. It's practically impossible for them to survive, but that means there's a finite probability for a chance of survival. They get out a load of scrapes just by kind of... Oh, the Babelfish. The Babelfish is so unlikely that it proves the existence of God. But proof denies faith, and without faith I am nothing, says God. But the Babelfish proves you exist, and therefore you don't. What a problem, says God, as he evaporates in a puff of logic. Mos Def as Ford Prefect. Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot he was in that. Mr. Definitely.
This sounds very looking at very much.
It's oh my god. That's one of the last my random sense of humor explanation things, because a lot of it comes from that.
Okay.
You have to love that the proof of the non-existence of God starts off as a confident conversation with God. Oh, it's very witty. It's wonderful. Apparently, Paul Douglas Adams had, I think he might have been bipolar or something like that, but he had some, let's say, issues regulating his mood, and so he would drink a lot. And apparently, he came up with the idea of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy completely pissed drunk in the middle of a field looking up at the sky. And he's just found himself laughing for like an hour thinking of this. Thinking you could have a guidebook to the whole universe and it could be full of really stupid, funny jokes.
That correct.
You know the entry for Earth, right? Of the humans. Under Earth it says, harmless.
Humans.
Same.
Okay.
Same. Yeah, just as harmless. And Ford Prefect is on Earth to revise for the revised edition of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. His revised entry for humans, mostly harmless. Yeah. Yeah. Poor man. But what a genius, and what joy he's brought to so many of us. It's wonderful. If you could just quickly read that.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, sorry.
Of course. I'm here for it.
Annalise is the comment newsreader.
I am. Douglas Adams did have a very bad issue with substance abuse due to his chronic depression, unfortunately, which is probably why he was mates with Graham Chapman.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot he was friends with him. I mean, he seemed to be really well connected, and he had an interesting group of friends. Apparently, he was close friends with Stephen Fry as well, and so that's one reason why they made Stephen Fry the voice of the book in the movie, is that they wanted somebody that had a real connection to Douglas Adams.
And he called Ford Perfect because he did...
Ford Prefect.
Prefect because he did a quick bit of research and named himself after a dominant species on the Earth, basically cars. Excellent.
So funny.
Excellent.
I've got the little book in there. You can read it if you want.
Okay.
I've got the first volume. The restaurant at the end of the universe.
What do they serve?
So it's a gigantic restaurant at the end of the universe, and you can watch the universe explode. And you pay for it by depositing a penny in a bank account 9 billion years before, so that by the time you get to the end of the universe, the gigantic cost of the meal has all been paid for.
Amazing.
It's compound interest times a bajillion.
So the best interpretation of God
Okay.
An old drunk in an Edinburgh pub who chooses a local Ned as humanity's representative and turns him into a fly.
I should read some Irving Welsh. I've never read Midnight Crows. Hitchhikers is brilliant. I agree. It's one of those. It's one of those things that, again, Doctor Who did so well in America because of the quirky humour, and I feel like Hitchhikers never had its day, and I think in a way Hitchhikers is better. Controversial, because I also like Doctor Who quite a bit too, but they actually proved that the population of the universe is 0. Well, you know, one of the central jokes is they ask the biggest computer in the world, deep thought. They ask the biggest computer in the world, what is the meaning of life? And they've waited thousands of years for the answer, and the computer has sat there for thousands of years. You know, people have been looking after it and tending it and making sure it's maintaining it, making sure it's still doing its work. And after thousands of years, I'm like, computer, have you come up with the answer to the meaning of life? Yes, I have. You're not going to like it. Well, what is it? We must know. 42. 42. So that is why 42. You see that reference a lot in nerdy things. So then they say, well, what's the question? Well, you didn't ask me that. So then they have to go and ask it, what's the question to the ultimate answer of the meaning of life, to figure out what the question was that resulted in 42. And the question turns out to be completely wrong. Douglas Adams did write one of the classic Who's best stories, City of Death. Yeah. There's a few of them. There's one that I watched once with my friend Joe, who's really into his Doctor Who, mostly into Tom Baker actually. I think he liked the Tom Baker era. City of Death, is that the one set in Paris? And there's something bizarre going on with time. There's like something really strange going on with clocks. I just remember there was this kind of detective character who's always smashing bottles.
Okay.
Like his solution to everything is just to smash a bottle. And at one point the Doctor says, you break a lot of glass. Douglas Adams was also in charge of the Key of Time serial, which was where the Doctor's working with the White Guardian and against the Black Guardian. Oh yeah, that's one of the ones that was broadcast. That was like a big serialized story that took place over like 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
Of Doctor Who. It was very popular, and that was where the Doctor's companion is actually another female Time Lord. Not Rani. Rani's a villain later on. One of the later companions... Yeah, one of the companions is... Oh, well. I need to know. I need to remember who that was. Unless one of these guys can tell us. Romana dressed as a schoolgirl, which is a little creepy these days. Has great villain in a Swish 70 disco suit. Yeah, that's one that's worth rewatching, actually. I'd like to rewatch some of the... If you want to watch some classic Who...
Yeah, that'll do.
Classic Tom Baker era, written by Douglas Adams, is probably one of the best things to watch.
Yeah.
Plus, I think it had the best theme tune as well, the Peter Howell kind of... the really kind of super synthy 80s one. when Doctor Who started to become a bit more Monty Python, Douglas Adams was technically a Python writer. But, oh, was he? I didn't know that. So there's a connection between Monty Python, Doctor Who, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the End of the Galaxy. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The villain is Julian Glover, who you might remember, Annalise, as the villain in Octopussy. He's the guy with the kind of creepy goatee. It's Julian Glover. He's also in Game of Thrones. Yeah, I don't know the Game of Thrones stuff so well. It's not my thing really, but. It's funny, I was talking to Cameron the other day. Turns out he's, because he's a fantasy guy. Yeah. And I was saying, I only think I watched like 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. He was like, don't watch any more. Donovan in Last Crusade, yes, with the worst American accent ever. Jehovah starts with an I. God damn it. Oh my god, you keep finding all these amazing Julian Glover references. He's the AT-AT commander in Empire.
Oh, okay.
He's the one that talks to tiny Darth Vader. That's the one mistake. They always, Mike DeClasser always says on Red Letter Media, the only mistake... Empire Strikes Back is a flawless masterpiece, except for one thing, that Darth Vader's tiny. In that one shot. Yeah, there's still quite a lot of good stuff. It's so weird to hear Brits try to do American accents and they put too much emphasis on enunciation. Yeah, that is a thing. I honestly, Hugh Laurie's was good in House.
Yeah.
There were a few bits where it slipped, I thought.
Yeah. Tom Holland is very impressive.
Tom Holland is very good.
Yeah.
Although I can tell.
Well,
I can hear it. Howdy, y'all. The only time, well, apparently that somebody at one point cast Michael Caine in a western,
okay.
and so he had to have speech training to do a Texan accent. But in describing how that worked, he said the most brilliant explanation of the Texan accent, which is that the words all lean on each other. But if you think about it, works perfectly.
They do. Huh.
Charlie Cox Daredevil does a brilliant accent. Okay. Oh, the Daredevil series? I haven't watched that. Surprisingly, Tom Holland, because it's the first time I've heard Spider-Man with a Queen's accent. True. That's right, because he is supposed to be from Brooklyn.
Yeah. Wait.
No, sorry, he says to Cap.
Yeah.
He says, "I'm from Queens," and Cap goes, "Brooklyn."
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's a nice little moment.
I like it. It's cute.
Spidey's from Queens. I was never a big Spider-Man guy. I know there are lots of people that are really into the comics, but I like Tom Holland a lot in that role.
I think he's my favorite person to portray it. He's the first one that actually looks the correct age.
As much as I do like the Tobey Maguire films, at least, well, really the first two, I do think Tom Holland is ideal.
Yes, true.
Who's Miles Morales?
Next Spider-Man after Peter Parker. He's in a lot of the universes.
Oh, okay.
He's also in the Spider-Man Multiverse movie, which we need to watch.
Oh, Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah. Okay, we need to. Yeah.
He's young Spider-Man. In some of the universes,
Nice.
Peter Parker trains him.
I see. Oh no, we're going to Burnham again. Oh. I'll never go past Burnham Station and not think of Michael Burnham. I'll just go to Burnham Station and go, just start crying.
Well, Wolverine's meant to be 5'4" and Canadian. Don't think Hugh Jackman pulls either of those off. I mean, I hope they realize they can never recast Wolverine.
Who else could do it?
No one.
No one else can be Wolverine now. I mean, to be honest, that is basically the only thing Hugh Jackman has done.
Mm-hmm.
Other than, I guess, Javert in...
And the,
Yeah.
Showman was his most recent big one.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Sorry,
He's
I was
done
being
a lot
unfair.
of-
I was
he's done a
unfair
lot of
to
musical
Hugh Jackman.
stuff.
Well, because he can actually sing. He
Yeah, he actually has
he
a
actually
good
is a
voice.
good singer.
Shockingly enough, that was actually quite a good voice.
Les Mis, of course. Les Mis. Yeah.
I didn't honestly enjoy the Les Mis movie.
I watched it. It was kind of like a big, crazy, old school movie musical
Yeah.
with a gigantic budget and huge sets everywhere and stuff. Like, that was kind of... I enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah. I don't personally enjoy musicals where it is all singing. There is zero talking whatsoever.
You wouldn't like the operas that I watched then.
No, operas are different. Operas are different. I don't expect spoken word in operas.
There are people who have done productions of operas where it is essentially a movie with singing, and it's amazing. Actually, they're really cleverly done.
Oh, I like operas. I don't expect spoken word in operas. But for me, if you're going to do a big movie musical, I don't enjoy it when it's just singing.
Oh, slow down. Chris Claremont. Sorry, I've missed a couple of comments here.
Come on.
Les Mis was spoiled for me by some poor performance. I swear by the stars. Yeah.
Chris Claremont, Wolverine's main writer for X-Men, wanted Bob Hoskins for Wolverine.
We've got Gareth Collins in the house. Hello, Gareth.
Hi, Gareth.
Good to see you.
Unfortunately,
Welcome.
we're probably at the tail end of our
Well,
stream.
yeah, we're probably getting close to the end here, but
But good to see you
this
for
has
a
been
bit.
a we're complaining about it being too hot.
That's pretty much
stream.
all you missed. Is
Yeah,
us.
you have to get off and just fall straight into the logs. How are you guys?
Hot.
We are very hot, and my controller is doing quite a lot of controller drift.
We're down in southern
So I
England.
might have to get
and-
this sorted out.
Yes. Add that to the to-do list. Hello.
This is Annalise. We're both here.
Yes, we are down in southern England where it got up to 90 Fahrenheit today, and England is not equipped for that.
Yeah.
So this has been a day of whining and griping, and fans.
Yep. Pretty much. So we're just sheltering from the heat and
Yeah.
playing games, and we've been yammering about classic 60s, 70s spy thrillers, Doctor Who, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, various shows from back in the day. It's been good fun. John says, I've been waiting for my boiler to warm to take a shower, so hooray!
Why do you want it to? I'm confused. Why do you want it to warm? This is the season of cold showers.
We literally are spritzing ourselves with a plant sprayer.
Yep.
Thank you. Oh. Captain Scarlet scaring Annalise.
Wait, what? I don't understand that reference.
Well, because you don't like puppets.
No, I forgot. I haven't seen Captain Scarlet, so I didn't know Captain Scarlet was puppets. I don't like.
It's like Thunderbirds. It's the
I- oh, no.
same. It's the same kind of look.
Thunderbirds freak me out. watch a whole show of that. It's
I grew up
creepy.
with it. I grew up with it. It's great.
It's creepy.
It's really fun. It's really fun, especially when you see them walking around a room like this. I'm doing a kind of weird bouncy. The way the arms bounce, that's the least convincing part. Although one of the great tricks they do is that they have, for close-up shots of them doing something like turning a dial or pressing buttons, they have a real human hand wearing a sleeve.
That's even worse.
But it's clever.
But no. I don't do puppets. I don't do puppets.
Fair enough. They had human hands.
See, it's so much worse. Imagine a puppet with human hands.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's fucking creepy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. It doesn't have to be your thing. I'm just saying. I grew up with it, and I remember Captain Scarlet very fondly. I had all the toys. A friend of mine had an amazing. Like everybody made a Tracy Island from Thunderbirds, obviously. But a friend of mine had a really, really good one that his parents made that had very nice scenery all over it and a lift to bring up. I guess it was Thunderbird 3 to bring it up out of the ground, and a little hangar bay that opened up, and Thunderbird 2 came out of it. It was great. If you had Tracy Island as a kid, you were cool.
Okay.
You were a cool person. I'm reminded of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. Not my fault. Monkey bastard ads. Ooh, time to slow down.
I don't know. At some point in my life, I just decided that I hated the Muppets and all other Muppets.
Oh, it's not like the Muppets. It's not quite that
it just
bad.
started with the Muppets.
Oh, okay.
All Muppets followed from there. And the movie Strings is not for you. A fantasy set in a world where everyone is a puppet and they know it. Fighting wars by cutting each other's strings. What the fuck?
Oh, nice. Okay. Gareth Collins is a Train Sim World guy.
Excellent.
So I guess this falls under a Train Sim World. This is probably how it gets tagged on YouTube. So that's how
Okay.
people find it. Well, good to meet you, Gareth. I'm glad you like your trains.
Yes,
I'm a big trains guy. So basically, this is a channel where my wife Annalise and I play games and talk about Marvel and Star Trek.
Mostly Star Trek.
Mostly Star Trek at the moment.
And really whatever's on our mind.
But eventually maybe some Pokemon stuff.
Yeah,
we
so
want to
we'd
do
like
some
to do
Pokemon as well.
stuff.
But yeah, trains is quite a regular thing here. I love Train Sim World.
Maybe.
Pretty much.
Pretty much Star Trek and trains. And usually griping about something or other. Aw, thank you, John.
This is great though. This is just a nice place to hang out and just have a random chat.
It is. It's so easy to
pretty good.
start. And a great place to gripe when it's too damn hot.
It is. Oh.
It's finally
Oh.
breaking, I think.
I think we're at the tail end of it. Yeah.
Yep. As long as it gets cool at night, that's fine. Because then I can
So
sleep.
where is this? What station am I at? Taplow. Okay. So I guess Maidenhead is next, and
Shall
then
we get to Reading and then call it?
yeah, that sounds like a good. I think that's where this.
And you won't drive off the tracks?
I'll try. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed I won't crash it. Yeah. Yeah. So Maidenhead, then it will be Twyford, then. So yeah, Gareth, I actually live on this line. We live in Reading, so
Yes.
this is kind of our local line, which is fun.
Heading home. Well, we're home.
Gareth, what are your kind of go-to areas in Train Sim World?
Favorite train?
Favorite map scenarios, I guess.
Train to Sim.
The Train to Sim World. Yeah, there's a 125. I saw one of those the other day. I saw an HST. They've refurbished a couple of them because they're all withdrawn from the network now, but they've refurbished a couple of them for rail fan tours around the country, and there was one that came up along through Goring.
Yes.
I think it was on its way to probably Bristol or somewhere like that.
Okay. I I love the Flying Scotsman.
Flying Scotsman's beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
it's
classic.
awesome.
Flying Scotsman and Mallard. I used to have like a little toy Mallard as a kid. And,
You know, I'm a steam train kind of girl.
yeah. I've always wanted to go on the Orient Express and not get murdered, says Stephen. Good plan, good plan.
I mean,
Well, that's fine, just don't be an American mob horrible guy.
don't be around all of the people in crazy dress.
Best thing about Garth Marenghi is the in-character commentary on the DVD. I don't know anything about Garth Marenghi. I don't. Richard mentions him quite a lot. Richard and Ivan mention him. It's not something I know about.
When did we didn't. No, okay, I was just making sure we didn't mix the Patreon.
I don't think we did.
No, I think that's.
We would have gotten emails.
Check with the next Patreon.
I think it's coming up sometime
It's soon.
in the next couple of weeks.
I'm on it because I can't miss it because if Roar comes up, I will be there. It's gonna happen.
As soon as you get Raw, you're going to cancel your Patreon and never appear on the channel ever again. Yeah.
Oh god. Not quite that.
Okay, the stations are a little closer together now, so we're probably in the last 5 minutes, but I do these streams quite regularly, so
Yes.
I'm a little bit busy this week. But there might be a chance for a stream somewhere in here.
Yeah.
Garth Marenghi is very Alan Partridge in that it's about a Clive Barker type horror author who's pathetic and made a low budget, crappy TV series. Okay. That helps me figure out what kind of thing it is.
Context.
Context. I do like Partridge, although I mostly know what it is through Richard and Duncan, and I've watched a few clips on YouTube.
Oh, it's tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, great. That'll be good. Looking forward to that.
One day Roar will come.
It will. But then we have to watch the documentary about Raw, the two of us. We can watch Raw, and then we can watch the documentary about it, which is apparently more fascinating.
Well, that's the thing. The documentary about the movie is better than the movie itself.
Right. Because it's such a bonkers thing.
I mean, and this next best thing to that is reading the injuries section of the Wikipedia page. It's just fascinating. Roar.
This is Raw, so is it really a movie? I guess it's an almost a movie.
It's quite literally this madman who decided to take in a bunch of big cats, lions, tigers, a couple of jaguars, throw them onto, I don't know, 20 acres or something?
Yeah.
And just film him and his family living with them for like 12 years and pretend he was making a movie, and people got mauled and got massive scalp injuries, and they had like 20 people quit and 24 people admitted to the hospital.
Oh.
It's just fascinating.
It's bad.
Who's the famous actress' daughter?
Tippi Hedren, yeah.
Tippi Hedren, yes. I think she was the one. I can't remember if she was the one that got scalped or had her leg broken by
God.
an elephant.
Oh. So it's basically Melanie Griffith
Yes, yeah.
famously
Griffin.
had to have facial. That's Melanie Griffith. Griffin? I don't know.
Oh, maybe it is Griffin. I don't know.
Famously had to have facial reconstruction surgery. Yeah, Tippi Hedren, as in the Lady from Birds. Yes, exactly.
That's the one.
The very same.
Yeah, okay, so in that case, it's Melanie who had her face / scalp ripped open, and Tippi who had her ankle broken by an elephant.
And you see the moment in it
Oh,
in
you
the
see
movie.
all of it. That's just
you
it.
see
None
that
of
the
it is
elephant just
staged.
picks her up.
None of it is staged, it's just them going out into a giant field and house of tigers and lions, not trained, no script, no trainer, just acting out the scenes
Yeah.
in a house full of
It's horror show, and there's no wranglers for the animals at all, so they're just roaming free.
Nothing's fake. If you see him get mauled in the movie, which he does, he's getting mauled. He's just flat out getting mauled.
Steven says, not watching that because it sounds utterly horrifying.
It's amazing. It's utterly amazing.
They covered it on Red Letter Media a couple of years ago.
Yes, and they were mortified.
They were horrified by it too, which made us even more curious.
See, now you don't have to watch it, but just go on YouTube and search like Roar documentary. There's a couple of versions. Watch it. It is fascinating.
It's the Fire Festival of movies.
Pretty much. Good reference. Another good documentary.
That one made me angry.
Fire Festival documentary.
It's very funny in some ways, but it also is enraging.
Yeah.
Because the guys in charge of it are just such pathological liars.
It's one of those things where it really does watch like fiction, but it's not.
Right. I'd be alright with it if the people were bad people or something.
I mean, they were taking in lions and tigers with no proper training on how to care for them, so...
It's mostly the man. It's mostly the madman who made it.
Yeah.
And everybody else is kind of a victim of him.
Yeah, his family mostly.
Yeah, he kind of basically endangers them horribly.
He called it a rescue. It was not a rescue. I mean, I don't think they were ill-treated, but you can't just decide, oh, I know how to take care of tigers now. That's not how that works. You know, every time he gets mauled, it's fine. There's quite a bit of blood.
There is a lot of blood.
But it's not because they're mortally injuring wounds. No one dies. But most of the wounds occur around the face and head regions, which bleed the lungs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. You sure there isn't... the island of Dr. Moreau, yeah.
Just the reality show version. Well, actually, no, it's more real than reality shows. Shocker.
Well, it's one of those where the fourth wall gets broken so much you can't actually buy into it as an actual film, because you know that it's a case of the actors are themselves in mortal danger and being injured regularly.
Oh, God. It's just fascinating. It's a morbidly fascinating. So yeah, I've been putting that into the Velvet Patreon stream every week for a very long time because it's on YouTube. So at some point it's gonna happen. I'm just gonna keep putting it in every month until it happens. At this point, it's become a meme.
Raw, yeah.
Will I get Roar? The thing is, I was mostly kidding at the beginning, but now it's just become such a meme.
Well, you've just become the mascot of Valverde at this point.
I wouldn't go that far, but it is a goal.
You nearly are. I mean, the John Wick stream was basically for you.
Well, I did. That was very sweet. I did. I mean, I just
Which was
stand
amazing.
out as the woman.
I'm just so glad that for so long the Enterprise theme tune,
For Christ's sake.
there was just a whole hundreds of internet randos would gather once a week to talk about Star Trek with Richard and troll my wife.
Okay, it was dozens, not hundreds. Thank you very much.
It was quite a lot of people. Damn you, Michael, says Stephen. You're welcome.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
ma'am.
See, it's not just me. It's not just me.
Hodorowski's Dune, very interesting. That is an interesting one. Because Hodorowski's version of Alejandro Jodorowsky was this really wild, maybe he's still alive, conceptual Italian filmmaker, Italian conceptual filmmaker, who was for a time in charge of making a version of Dune. But it was really impractical. But it brought together lots of really interesting artists and designers. So they had crazy designs for the costumes, and he's still making movies. Good for him. Fantastic. he had these really over-the-top, high kind of... He was like, this movie will change the world! And he really believed it, and it obviously fell through, and it got scaled back to the version that we all know from David Lynch. But H.R. Giger was involved. That's how H.R. Giger got known, so that he could make so that he got brought on board to do Alien. And Dan O'Banion sent me money to design the creature. Dan O'Banion. Yeah. I especially liked it because Jodorowsky is a polarizing filmmaker. I've never rated him very highly because I think his takes are usually
self-indulgent shock value.
Okay.
And he's a freaking cult leader.
He made one a year or so ago about psychological system he invented called psychomagic. Okay, so this person is very strange. Alright, one more stop and then we'll be at Reading. Like, that's right down there.
And then call it an evening?
Call it an evening.
Cult leader, interesting.
I was not aware of that. I was just aware of him as a conceptual filmmaker who made really impenetrably, completely ununderstandable films.
As a phenomenon. No, you know, as long as you make good comics, you can get away with a lot of cult shit.
Oh. I wasn't aware he was a comics person. Interesting. Dan O'Banion. I just find that so funny that he calls him Dan O'Banion, even though his name is Dan O'Bannon. There's no I in it. Not gonna lie, H.R. Giger seems like a weird guy. People made up weird rumors about him. Giger lived with his mum. Now, did he live with his mum, or did he live with the corpse of his mum?
Yep,
I think I'd heard of this rumor. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Something about that. Something about his ex-wife as well, or something like that. Apparently, he didn't sleep very well because my penis, my visions, they disturb. Stuff like that. He's actually going to go up. Well, there was that one, I can't remember the name of the band, who had a cover designed by him, and it was all penises. The whole field of penises, biomechanical, penises and stuff. And it got banned, like that. They couldn't use that cover. Corpse thing was a rumor. That was based on another French painter who had a corpse in his house for a year. I think it's related. I think I've heard of that. Painters can be weird. Spritzed.
Just sitting here misting each other. You got sprayed like a cat.
I did. Artists tend to be kind of mad. Can confirm. Can confirm, Stephen. Robert Lenkiewicz had the embalmed body of a friend in his studio for decades. Oh, you're a painter, John. I didn't know that. There are people who try to spend as much time in their creative worlds. Yeah, I mean, actually, they're kind of similar to writers that way. Not far to Reading now, and then we'll call it a day. It's nice. These streams tend to clock in at about an hour and a half, 2 hours, which is good. Often trying to keep themselves there because that's the world they have control over. Interesting. Your icon is one of your paintings.
Very cool.
One day I may tell you my real name so you can look at my work. Oh, that would be great, actually, John, if you would. Yeah. Maybe you can
Someday.
private message me, and I'll, send me stuff in private messages. I think you can still do that on YouTube.
If not, it will be our reward someday for many, many streams.
Yeah. That would be really fascinating. I'd love to see it. I think I've just slowed down a little bit. No, that's alright. It's only coming to 40 miles an hour. That's not that bad. Yeah, I mean, if you can figure it out, yeah.
It's
Up to you.
obviously not a huge deal. We just love to see it.
Right, so here's the Waterloo line coming in here. This
Yeah,
is
if
the
anyone
Southwest
in this
Trains
room
line.
should be using a fake name, it's me. I am the only person. with
Right,
my
you have a
name.
very unusual name.
And yet, here we are. Just can't be
Yeah, and, it's so unlikely you'd have a problem with it, to be honest. Waterloo couldn't escape if I wanted to. Very nice reference.
Yep. I really should probably use some pseudonym, but it's a little late for that, so I don't think anyone's going to judge me too much for
Well, there was
playing Train Simulator.
yeah, there was this funny period for a while where more or less everybody didn't use their real name.
Mm-hmm.
At least Twitter in the early days, nobody used their real name except for celebrities. And I remember watching lots of live streams back in the day. I used to watch like skeptics channels that would talk about science and things like that. And they always had, people had, names like Total Logic and Dwarf Swinger 355 and I don't know, just really typical kind of internet usernames. Now everybody kind of uses their real Google accounts because it's such a hassle to create. God, the real Skeptic 43. Pretty much. Complete Rationality was another one. Bonzo Fury 69, nice. It's just such a hassle to have multiple accounts of things. You have to have a separate email for every single one.
I don't have to remember these things.
Oh, it's like I can't remember. And you can have a situation like I had recently where I kind of got locked out of one of them and I have no idea how to get back in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have nothing to be that ashamed of on the internet. It's
Oops, sorry.
fine.
No, sure. It's just I don't want professional life people coming and finding my weird little YouTube channel where I play games and rant about Star Trek.
I've kind of given up on that. It's fine. Most people in my world respect a good rant.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to wonder whether Richard ever has that problem with his videography. Even he, I don't think would.
Yeah.
It's even funnier for our generation, I think, because, oh my god, it's so surreal to see politicians and countries get into Twitter spats.
It really is, and it's depressing.
Well, it's really funny when people start having an argument with, like, the Oreo Twitter page or something.
Oh god, yep.
It's like, why are you doing that?
You can have an argument with a concept at this point.
Yeah. Rishi Sunak is having a fight with Ben and Jerry's.
Alright, shall we call
All right,
it
I think on that great note we will call it.
This
But
has been fun, all.
thank you for a very enjoyable Sunday night. All best, guys.
Stay cool.
Yeah, stay cool. Go and have a cold shower.
Hug an ice cube.
Yep, hug an ice cube if you can find one. All right. Night, night, all.
Night to night.